Michelle. This is my so-called handmade life. I have a blog by the same name, and that's my name on Instagram. I am Mamatronic on Ravelry. This is a knitting podcast, but it's really about whatever I'm doing. This week, there's a little knitting in it. We've been talking about kind of needing a break here and there from the stress of the media, news, really anything. Several of you said there's toxic relationships, or even social media has its various stresses. Different ones we've talked about, from pressure to spend to pressure to keep up. So anyway, I was talking about taking time to do nothing. And where are your little secret places, your hidey holes where you go to do nothing? And this is one of mine. It's my garden. Nothing too special behind me. It's small, but I can get down in the middle of it and hide from my dogs or possibly people around me who might see from other yards. When these plants grow up taller, also, it's a good time to hide. So that and walking, long walks. I often go to the cemetery. It's just a direction I can walk from my house that right now there's no loose dogs to chase me. The wooded road that I live nearby would be a great place to walk, but there's just too often one or more loose animals. So I asked you guys what you do to get away, and Katinka shared. Well, first, Carolyn shared from the episode before that they don't watch a lot of social media, but they find that in the evenings they watch things with a positive message that's uplifting, often old movies, to kind of get away from the stress of the world. And they often watch entertainment programs that reinforce their lifestyle choices, so living on less, tiny home living, which is a great way to avoid the pressure and stress of too much spending, consumerism on social media. But Katinka takes long walks on the beach, long, slow walks, no dogs, no phone, no one else, just her. Sometimes she'll lay in the grass and look up at the sky. Katinka, I thought of you a couple of days ago. I went for a walk on the beach. I went with my husband, but we have to drive about an hour's drive. But when we get there, there were hardly any people there because it was evening, and it was a really nice walk. I mean, the trash that washed up on the beach was gross. I'm not going to go into the particular kind of trash over and over we saw. It was so strange, but it was a nice walk anyway. And if you look toward the water, you don't see the trash. So Sarah Jane spends a lot of time outdoors, but she spends time just sitting still and tries to do it whenever she can throughout a busy day, or maybe in longer stretches when she has the time, and just check in with herself, see how she's feeling. I think she makes decisions a lot from this place of intuition, just listening and seeing what she's feeling. Sarah said that she will, a different Sarah, go in her yard, out in the country, to just rest her brain. But she's careful not to just open her mind up to any thought. She likes to meditate on scripture. And I was thinking about how I can let wrong thinking in, especially if it's an attitude or a belief that I was fighting. When I take the time to decompress and do nothing, it's often when I would find I'm ruminating on that speech I should have given, and I'll have to nix it and start over. I also think it's important to watch our thoughts, but the deep listening that Jenny Odell was speaking about, I feel like, I don't know exactly, I didn't read her book, I just listened to her talk, but when I practice something I think is like that, it is just listening to the sounds of nature. Listening to created things around me. Not people, though. No one with an agenda, just nature. and it's very soothing and calming. And I find, maybe similar to Sarah Jane, the thoughts that I need to work out, the worries or the concerns or maybe the joys start to rise to the surface. I start to hear that and sense what it was that was bothering me, or what that good thing, I can almost voice it, what was it? That's when it comes to mind, these times I spend alone. Snowy Owlcraft said that she would like to spend her energy and time learning more about what is happening in the world, being more involved. She cares about issues like inclusion, but with the age her children are and the relationships in her life that she feels she needs to give a lot of tending to right now, she doesn't have the available energy or time. And then once in a while when she does have time, she wants to just get alone and do nothing. Recently she did that. She went for a drive to the northern part of Norway and just watched the scenery change as she drove, and took a few hikes, brought her phone but didn't really use it, and that was a great time for her to decompress. I was thinking about what she said and life really does work that way. There's these cycles and seasons where we have a lot of energy to devote to things happening around us, time to read up on what's happening in the world and to other people around us. Maybe people we wouldn't always have contact with, but then there are other times where our world gets small and we have to focus on the people right in front of us. So for her, it's children, spouse, other relatives and friends at the moment. At different times, it's been my children, it's been aging relatives. Even at times in my own health, I've had to take a week or two or a month to do some research and figure out what to do about this issue. And especially when it comes to children, you do have your impact on the world at that time, because though you may not be able to keep up with everything that's going on, you are preparing them for how to view the world, and you can make a difference in a global way by the attitudes you teach your children, the beliefs they have about others. Like, for instance, the example you gave, inclusion. You can make a change in the world by the way you teach your children and the way you live around them. Even if that's all you have time to do, it's a very significant thing, and you're the greatest impact. The impact as parents that we have is huge. It's one of the greatest in their lives, and so that's the shaping of 2 more people or 3 more people or whatever in this world. And so don't feel too out of the loop. You do have an impact on what's happening in the world as you focus your lens on your family. A. Eastman turns her phone off on days after work and then turns it back on when going to work. So the evenings are free to just be. And she's found time to learn to paint, pick up a new instrument, listen to music, read. At first she felt guilty about doing this. Also a little fear that she would lose connection with coworkers who were very informed and connected with social media in the world, but she's found that it hasn't had any detrimental effect, and it's allowed her to have a little fun in her life, which has been good for her. And then there's always the hours during the day to keep connected. So she said fun is important. Pammy is a big proponent of nap taking. She spends the morning on her patio with coffee, petting her cats, watching the birds, and she realizes it's a privilege that she is able to retire right now and do this. But it's part of what helps her to do nothing to maintain healthy boundaries in her life, mentally, just mental health. The other aspect of that, she said, is she has quit trying to compare her productivity to that of other people. So, there's, and this phrase I've heard several times recently, the fabulous knitters. All the fabulous knitters making these things, and she can't keep up. She doesn't have that kind of time. She has diverse interests. So she's not keeping up, but she's not worried about keeping up. It's okay. That's really important. And like 15 years ago, I would have thought that sounded crazy. Like, oh, I'm so stressed out, I'm trying to keep up with what everyone else is knitting. I mean, it just would be bizarre to me, but I see where we are now. Even 10 years ago, it wasn't like we all had to knit that same thing. Things have really shifted. It's like a consumerism thing. It's really shifted as it's more mainstream, but here we are, all of us wanting to be in on what everyone else is doing. I don't even think for most of us it is a materialistic urge. I think it's more of a, I want to be part of it. I want to join this knit along. I want to see what I can do. Can I make this? Julie had similar things to say. She's quit trying to keep up with the newest things, and she's using older patterns that she had from ages ago and never knit, and it's been bringing her a lot of joy. That is something I want to do. I've told y'all, I've done some of that. That Martin Story pattern is one, but it's not too old. There's some really old stuff I would like to do. The other thing, Julie is at a place at her life where she said it's similar to where I am. After having been a caregiver, she's kind of like, what now? She feels this pressure, like maybe she should be working, maybe she should do this or that. There's volunteer areas. She could volunteer at the hospice where her mother was, but it just hasn't felt right yet. And she encouraged me to wait until I feel both physically and mentally ready to go back to doing something else. But she said that she has a lot of work. They have property, like a hobby farm, and a lot of animals they've collected. And when she's done working around her home and with the animals, she's pretty exhausted. And she's actually worked very physically hard. But I'm thinking, Julie, that might be a little bit of you're doing nothing, though you're working hard. It sounds like that monotonous kind of work, upkeep of your property, that lets the mind wander and helps you just be. It's very soothing. I find that one of my favorite feelings is being spent after a job like that, out in the sun. I like to feel the sun, the heat of it. It's not great for my skin, but I like to work with animals. It just when living things are around me, there's no agenda but life there. Brenda, I thought about how to answer you, and I've filmed this so many times trying to come up with the right way to say it. And I don't have the right thing to say. There's no real answer I can give, except that a friendship, that I'm sorry about this. Brenda said that coming home, watching knitting podcasts and knitting was her safe place. That was her way to relax. And there's really no safe place for people of color. She was watching a podcast and a comment was made about like fear of a white woman afraid of being surrounded by people of color. It hurt her. It surprised her. So this is a place, a program. She felt safe watching, she enjoyed, she trusted to some degree, and then got slapped for it. And she said people of color have no safe place. I didn't want to let that go and not say something because I appreciate, Brenda, that you're telling me this, that you're opening up like this. But I don't have your experience. I haven't lived what you have, so I can't fully understand. And it would be foolish if I pretended that I could. But if you were sitting here with me, and maybe I could see better what I can say and do if it was bringing comfort, and then I would know to do more of it. I don't quite know what to say, but I'm going to give it my best, because I wish that I could ease that discomfort in you, but I mean, it's something you're living with. I've heard a lot of people say that recently. I don't feel safe. There's no safe place. Or we have to make our own safe place. So it's something that's pretty much predominantly people of color, and then they can feel safe. That's sad to me that it has to be that way. When we talked about Jenny Odell saying, practicing deep listening and doing nothing, the idea was to be alone. And so I watch knitting podcasts to relax too, and I knit while I watch them also. But you know, Brenda, you say there is no safe place, and I'm asking, where is her safe place? That getting alone and doing nothing is still something available to you, and hopefully, depending on where you live and how much you work or whatever, maybe you can be outdoors in nature, grounded in nature to do it. After my mother died, I was exposed to an influence that was very negative and prejudiced against me. I'm not even quite sure if it was gender or just who my mother was, I don't know, but everything I did was wrong. It was really things I couldn't even help. There was no pleasing this person, and it was just felt like a nightmare going home every day. Well, then you go out in the world and you have this influence from at home, and the impact of adults on children is very strong, and so that's that wrong thinking. You're taking it out in the world with you, and you feel beat down by it. Those words or sneers or ugly looks, they're pecking at you all day long, even though you're not around the actual source of it. It's the only thing I can try to imagine, to put myself in your place, Brenda, was that feeling in me of just, it was hopeless. There's nothing I can do. I will never satisfy. I'm never good enough. But then this leads me to think about, what about the people who, because of their skin color, they face that everywhere they go, the grocery store, school, whatever. Then they go home and they face dysfunctional family relationships there where they don't fit. What a nightmare. And I know personally for me, when I was under attack from the barrage of words, half of the time I was around it, the rest of the time I was reeling from it. It's not the same, and I'm not even pretending it's the same. And it wasn't society as a whole. It was just one person. I had God. I went to God. And I tried to replace the wrong feelings, the wrong beliefs about myself that it put in me with truth. This may not encourage you or be an idea that's useful to you if you don't believe like I do. It might not bring you any comfort, but it's just my own small, tiny bit of experience with a super negative influence. But again, it's not the same. I was finally watching that movie based on James Baldwin's Interviews and Notes, I Am Not Your Negro. It's really good. I can recommend that to anyone. I'm not finished with it. But that on top of what you said, Brenda's just really weighed heavily on me. I hope that you find first that quiet place to do nothing and just be. And secondly, I hope you find the friends and the online presence that you need, the community that you need. I hope that you have it. So I invite you, because you know my Ravelry name, I invite you to let me know how I'm doing with that here. Please be honest, and because you've opened up. So I want to hear what you have to say. I want to know how I can better be that for you, for anyone. I wish I had some word to say that would magically make it better. I wish that you were here and I could give you a hug, Brenda. I hope that this kind of friendship that we have online can be something of value, something that helps boost you as a person. Let's talk about what we're working on, I'm working on. You tell me what you're working on. I have quite a bit of progress for me on the Sunset Ringer Tee by Alexandra Tavel. It's about a medium size. It looks kind of small because it's bunched on this needle. It is actually the smallest size, but everyone has said there's a lot of ease in this tee. So I'm going to go ahead and knit the smallest and hope for the ease of normally what a medium would fit like. Alexandra's patterns are all 30% off. A cat. 30% off on Love Knitting right now. So if I were you, I would check in her Ravelry, see the ones you like, and see if they're available free on her website. And if they're not, I would go to Love Knitting and see about a discount. She has another one out that looks similar to this. You know, this is plain off-white stockinette, and then at the end, you do this band of duplicate stitch that looks like a sunset, like an Ocean Pacific t-shirt from the 80s. And it so brings back being, I don't know, in 3rd grade or something to me. Wearing little painter pants with a OP t-shirt, Keds. She's got a new one out called the Mountain Ringer Tee, and it's similar, but the band of duplicate stitch is, I think it's duplicate stitch. It is a mountain landscape, kind of like you would see a vintage travel souvenir t-shirt is what it looks like. I did get that on Love Knitting. Anyway, that's been an easy knit. The Kobu yarn is very smooth. It's not as stiff as cotton because of the bamboo, and it actually has a little stretch to it, so it has a similar feel to wool, and I'm just taking my time. It's been pretty easy to get a nice even stitch though. So it's kind of a little boring, but then at the end, the duplicate stitch should be interesting. I'm going to link to Rachel's finished one. It looks really good, but she said the duplicate stitch was really a booger to do. She had to do it several times. I did see someone doing it as intarsia, which I think might be just as messy for me, so I'm just going to try the duplicate stitch since I've never done it. It will be kind of a neat experience. Another thing I'm almost done with is one Kia sock by Dawn Henderson. This is Mockingbird Fiber, Monica's Apartment colorway, and then they had a little contrasting color for heels and cuff, and I really like that on this old-fashioned heel flap. I'm following Dawn's pattern exactly. So the Kia sock pattern is free, and she has some more patterns she's released recently. One is another sock pattern. I can't think of the name, but it's great. It's little shorty socks, and I totally want to make it. Speaking of Mockingbird Fiber, they released some Sodolna crop top kits. So the kit looks like this. This is one of my favorite colorways I've seen from them. This is the Nitpicky, Andrea Jimenez, her and her sister's yarn company. I really like Drops of Jupiter, and when I saw they had a Soldotna kit in it, I wanted to try it. It's a little, I have done a lot of mauve and red type pink colors, but I feel like this is a slightly different, especially this one. There's a little more orange to it. It's different for me, and I got an extra skein to make the sleeves longer. I'm excited to get on that, but no hurry, you know. Maybe the summer sweater knit along with the Very Shannon group. I will do that. I wanted to mention this because I think Saturday the 22nd they are doing a donation, like a certain percentage of the proceeds that they make from that update they'll donate to a cancer research foundation for the type of cancer their father had. I believe it's 10% of their sales will go for that day. And so I just wanted to let you know, if you were considering any of their, because I'm showing their yarns, considering doing it, it's a good cause, and they have some really great tweed bases. They have some, all the bases are good, but I really like this tweed. It is called, this is Dust on the Bottle. Timber DK is their little DK weight, tweed base. One other thing I've been doing is trying to take care of all those little projects around the house that have collected. I showed you the matting I did, the folding screen of photos I fixed up. We've done some things with our flooring. So I've been saving old candle votive containers to make candles one day. My daughter and I did it a few years ago, and they just kind of were poop. They didn't work very well. We used essential oils and not enough for a strong scent. If you want to use essential oils, you really have to kind of go over the top. I had a lot because I used to make soap, but I just didn't have enough. I mean, I didn't use enough for the candles. So this time, we did this a while back, but I wanted to get some fragrance oils that were stronger. So I have one, it's like clean linen, you know, it's got that smell, you know, everything's clean linen, Lysol, everything. Just a good home interior smell, especially when you have animals, dogs that are doggy smelling. But we also did Valencia. I did essential oils, the lemongrass and eucalyptus. I did a lot of them in certain candles, and it worked really well. They're very strong. When I light them, my sinuses kind of pop open. I love that. And then we were in the grocery store, she and I, and we found some little containers to make into candles. So a few more we added to it. This one smells really good. I think it's I think this is the clean linen. So that's kind of something I've been waiting to do for a while. Those containers have taken up space, so I'm glad they finally have candles in them. Another thing I've saved is this little bottle of Mission Grove. This is an essential roller balm perfume I got from Anthropologie years ago. And it's the box, it spilled on the box. It's almost out, and I wanted to recreate it. It's not being sold anymore in stores. So I took this into a local shop we have, and they have essential oils, fragrance oils, everything you need really to make your own beauty products if you want. But they also have teas and lots of herbs and seeds. And I got some rollerball applicators, and the rollerball and the lid is plastic, but the actual container itself is at least glass, so I felt good about that. And the scents that I got, I don't actually have them with me. This says Madagascar vanilla, cedarwood, and bourbon. So they had cedarwood essential oil, but then the other two were fragrances. They had vanilla and tobacco and scotch. And tobacco and scotch is similar to bourbon. It does have a bit of a tobacco smell to it, but I kind of love that because of my grandfather. In fact, I have a tobacco candle that I got at like TJ Maxx once just because it made me think of him. So the three together smell really good. I'm sure I'll have to use a lot more of the cedarwood than I would a fragrance oil, but I'm really excited to play around with them and try blending them just right. So another project I can check off. Really the only home projects we have left are some shelves in 1 or 2 bathrooms. We have pipe to support them. And we were going to do like raw, live edge wooden shelves. And then I have some hanging lamps that I need to rewire to either go on either side of our bed or either side of the couch. I got them at like a thrift store probably 8 years ago. I mean, I hang on to stuff for one day when I have the time or the money or the know-how. Trying not to be so much that way, but I'm also trying to use the things that I have. And it's not like we're stepping all over the stuff. It was in the garage, but still. Trying to use those things up. So those are really our 2 projects left to work on, and then a new compost for our backyard. Lori had recommended Cookie and Kate, the website. She said that was really good recipes, and You asked if I was going to the Houston Fiber Fest. Probably I won't, because I did DFW and I don't need to be buying more yarn. But if I do, I will definitely let you know, Lori. And any of you who are, speak up in the comments, and maybe Lori can get with you. Also, Lori, you were asking for recommendations for recovering from carpal tunnel, and Sarah is recovering from it. She said DK wool, size 6 needles was the easiest thing for her to knit. I didn't get any pattern recommendations, but Lori, I can recommend Attic 24 on Ravelry. Attic 24's crochet stripe blanket. It's like a granny stripe blanket. You can use any size of yarn you want that's comfortable for your wrist. And I did a worsted and DK weight baby blanket. So it wasn't really big because I didn't have that many leftovers of worsted and DK. At this point, I have quite a bit of sock yarn leftovers, and I want to do a sock yarn version. But you can use any size crochet hook you want, and it's a good break from the movements of knitting. And a lot of people have recommended that cross-training works for them, so I wanted to recommend that to you. And Brandy, this is totally off that subject, but speaking of hormone imbalance, a few weeks ago, Brandy said seed cycling is something to try, so I'm going to put a link to loveleafco.com, and it's a website about seed cycling, how to do it, and also links to buy the products. So it's basically you feed yourself seeds that will promote, like say flax seeds, that will promote progesterone creation or balance or estrogen balance in your body, depending on the time of your cycle. I don't know a lot about it, and I'm kind of scared to try anything like that, but I'm definitely reading more into it. And Lori, Cherie said that getting a professional massage, your arms, shoulders, wrists, might be a good idea to give you ideas for things you can do on your own at home or have a family member do for you if you start to have pain again. So Little Kitten recommended a podcast, I'm going to put the link to it, called Making Sense with Sam Harris. And this episode is about what tech is doing to us, and I'm interested. I think it has to do with what I said the last episode. Jenny Odell was talking about probably social media in general, but just all the technology we have. I'm going to listen to that today, and I think you guys might be interested too, so I'm linking it. So you guys, what projects have you done, are you doing, or do you want to do that make you think of the past? Does that kind of help you decide what you're going to make? This doesn't look like anything special, but just imagine the sunset, the 80s era sunset image across the chest. Nostalgia really drives me. I'm very sentimental, and a lot of my projects are chosen for that reason. And I think if I design things for myself, it would always have a nostalgic aspect to it. The plaid sweater I did absolutely has a nostalgic aspect to it. Let me know, what are you making that's makes you think of the past? Do you have any things you have made? It doesn't have to be knitting that you did because it reminded you of your childhood or a special memory or a special time. You know, I'm like this, like just a boring grocery store visit with my daughter. We found these little birds and we loved them. They were a few dollars. And so we made little candles, and now I'm going to look at this and think of her in that time all the time. My house is full of things I'm sentimental about. I don't want to hang on to things just because of sentiment, but I do find that whatever we have, be it very little or very much, and at different times in our life it's been very little, sometimes more, and then we purge, and then we have less. They just get imbued with sentiment because of us, because of the way we live, and I love cherishing where I am or where I've just been. And that I see that in the things I decide to make, the way I feel about them. And you know, every year that goes by, you have this larger pool of things to be nostalgic about. So it's kind of about appreciating where we've been. But I also look forward to where we're going, you know, the future too. So I'm going to show you some images from my walk on the beach with my husband, and maybe some footage of our sad little garden. I told you it's one of my places I can go to hide. It needs to be managed better right now. We've had a busy few weeds. We've had a busy few weeks. It needs to be managed better. But I will say this. This is a home project that was super cheap. We've added to it slowly. We have had to dump dirt in, but this garden behind me, like this rail, needs to be restained. My husband eventually added it, but it started with just chicken wire and raised beds. And actually the border of the raised beds I didn't even pay for. There was a cement slab that had been broken on our property when we moved here. I just used those chunks of cement to be like border rocks. And you can see this border that we have here now. That rock right there, that was actually given to us by a little man who was friends with my father. He said he had it, he would sell it to us for a good price. He wanted to get rid of all of his landscaping, and after 5 trips, loads of these bricks, in our truck, my son and husband went to pay him, and he wouldn't take it. He said, "Nah, just keep them. Thanks for getting them off my property." And we're like, "No, this is a good price. We definitely want to pay you." And he insisted, and he passed away about 2 weeks later. And every time I see my garden, I think about him and how he made it kind of beautiful. It's very, like this stuff, these flowers, the zinnias, they grow back every year on their own. The rosemary, it stays throughout the year. Oregano and thyme, I have them year round pretty much. And there's chives, but something like a possum maybe has been sleeping in them, so I don't want to eat them. We have roses and things like that, but and fern, lots of fern. And so, you know, things like this is like a pineapple sage that I planted a couple of years ago, and it just survived. And something called artissima, it's a really good filler plant. So is the ornamental potato vine. So, you know, those things just kind of hang around, and I move them about every spring. And then I wait to see if the things I plant, the food things, will come up. I see cantaloupe growing and a tomato vine, but they're way behind. I should already have tomatoes right now, so I just don't think I water enough for the heat here to have a veggie garden. But anyway, it's really nice to sit in the middle of it and kind of hide out. Patio was made with broken pieces of foundation, broken cement also, and I used them like you would flagstone. I just didn't have any budget money for it. It's just 14, 15 years ago. We had no budget for a patio, but I just wanted one, and so I dug out the area, we poured the, decomposed granite, and then placed these little pieces of free broken cement here and there, and spaced them evenly, and it was really nice looking. After a few years I had to level it a little, which is tricky because each piece could be a different depth. And then we had that flooding, and it really does. It needs to be leveled again. But it's not horrible. It's a decent patio for free, a free patio. So a lot of this is plants my grandmother and I used to trade back and forth. Like this Mexican tulips is what she called it, with the purple. This one, a neighbor of hers gave it to her, and we would go back and forth with it. Finally got sedum to grow. That makes me think of a Jane Richmond sweater. And this thing, we call it the Hydra, it just keeps coming back. The base is so huge, it probably isn't good for the garage foundation. You can see a lot of the plants that she gave me there. So you can see the pavers here. They're not totally level, but they work. It works okay. Hey girl.
Hello.
What? Oh, they are so ready to go in. I'm going to show you this fern. This one means a lot to me. I took a little bit out of it to put in the front yard. My grandmother got that from my great uncle, from my great grandmother's funeral. That's how old that plant is. This came from my grandmother's house, and it's one that she and I, it's like a stepped aloe that we've passed back and forth. This also. This ivy was from my first home I had, second rent home, but first after our daughter was born, and my grandmother loved this ivy and we would pass it back and forth to one another. So I'm sentimental about all of it. So anyway, that's what I'm up to. What are you watching? What are you doing for the summer? What projects have you worked on or do you want to work on that make you think of some fun time in the past or something like that? Let me know.